Commander Alan Willis rubbed his tired eyes and took another sip of cold coffee. The midnight shift at Earth Defense Command was usually quiet. Most nights, he just watched the stars and satellites move across the big screens. Tonight was different. "Sir, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Susan Grant. Her voice shook a little. She never got scared. Willis walked to her station. The radar screen showed 12 large objects that weren't there 5 minutes ago. They had appeared near the moon without warning. "Are you sure this isn't a glitch?" Willis asked, though he already knew the answer. "No, sir. 3 separate systems are tracking them. They're real." Willis felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Size?" "Each one is about 2 kilometers long. Nothing on Earth is that big." Willis nodded slowly. "Call the Pentagon. Wake up Admiral Porter. Tell him we have a first contact situation." Within 30 minutes, military bases worldwide went on high alert. The president was moved to a secure location. News stations began to report strange objects in the night sky, visible even to the naked eye. In the command center, Willis coordinated with space agencies around the world. Russian, Chinese, European, and American scientists all reported the same thing: massive ships of unknown design holding position just beyond lunar orbit. "They could have attacked immediately," said Dr. Peter Jones, the civilian scientist assigned to Willis's team. "The fact that they're waiting might be a good sign. Or they're just getting into position," Willis countered, before they could debate. Further, every screen in the command center flickered. The radar displays disappeared, replaced by the image of a strange being. It looked almost human, but with blue-gray skin and 5 eyes arranged in a crescent shape across its face. "People of Earth," it said in perfect English. "I am Fleet Commander Zarketh of the Galactic Hegemony. Your world has been chosen to join our empire." The room fell silent. Willis felt his heart pounding. "We have studied your civilization for many years," the alien continued. "You are divided, primitive, but show potential as servants of the hegemony. Your resources and labor will benefit the greater galactic community." Susan whispered, "Are they saying we'll be slaves?" Willis raised his hand for quiet. "Resistance would be unwise," said Zarketh. "Our fleet has conquered 1,412 worlds. None have successfully opposed us. To demonstrate our power, we will now destroy your largest military installation in the region you call Pacific Ocean." A bright flash appeared on one of the secondary monitors. The Pearl Harbor Naval Base had just vanished in a burst of light. "You have 12 of your Earth hours to prepare your surrender," Zarketh concluded. "If any of your weapons target our vessels, we will respond by destroying a major population center. Choose wisely." The screens returned to normal, leaving the I-2R command center in stunned silence. "Get me the president," Willis said, his voice steady despite the fear gripping his chest. 3 hours later, Willis stood in an underground conference room with 50 of the most powerful people on Earth. Military, leaders, politicians, scientists, and intelligence officials all talked over each other. Fear filled the room. "We have to surrender," said the French president. "Look what they did to Pearl Harbor with just 1 shot." "Surrender means slavery," replied the Chinese premier. "Better to die fighting." President Karen Martinez of the United States raised her hands. "We need options, people. Real options." Dr. Helen Rivera stepped forward. A small woman in her 60s, she didn't look important, but everyone stopped talking when she cleared her throat. "Madam President, there is something you should know," she said quietly. "Something very few people are aware of." "Go on," President Martinez urged. "In 1952, we recovered technology from a crashed spacecraft in New Mexico. Different aliens than these. For 70 years, a secret international program has been reverse engineering that technology." The room erupted in shouts of disbelief. "Silence," ordered Martinez. She fixed her gaze on Rivera. "Are you saying we have alien weapons?" Rivera nodded. "Not just weapons. We have ships, shields, and communication systems far beyond public technology. We kept them secret because we feared causing panic or disrupting society too quickly." "How much do we have?" asked Willis. "Enough to fight 12 ships that size?" "It's not about size," Rivera replied. It's about technology. The hegemony thinks, we only have missiles and jet fighters. They don't know about Project Daedalus. Willis exchanged glances with Susan, who had joined him for the emergency meeting. Hope flickered in her eyes for the first time since the aliens appeared. "Where is this secret fleet?" asked the Russian president. "Hidden bases around the world," Rivera answered. "Underground facilities in North America, Asia, Europe, and Australia. We need only give the activation code." President Martinez walked slowly around the table. "So we have a chance?" "More than a chance," Rivera said firmly. "These hegemony ships are impressive, but our technology comes from a civilization that may have been even more advanced. We just need to deploy our assets." Willis felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "How long to get everything in position?" 6 hours, Rivera said. "We need to coordinate pilots and crews who've been training in secret for years." Martinez nodded decisively. "Do it, but keep everything hidden until the last moment. I want these aliens completely surprised." As people rushed from the room to carry out orders, Willis pulled Rivera aside. "Why didn't you tell us about this earlier? We're supposed to be Earth's defense force." The older woman smiled sadly. "Compartmentalization. Too many secrets can be dangerous, but sometimes necessary. Now we need to get to the Colorado base. That's where our best ships are kept." As they hurried to a waiting helicopter, Willis looked up at the night sky. The alien ships were visible now. 12 bright stars that didn't belong there. "They think we're primitive," he said quietly. "They think we're easy prey." Rivera patted his arm. "That's their first mistake. They'll soon learn that humans don't surrender easily. And when cornered, we're far more dangerous than they could possibly imagine." The helicopter lifted off, speeding toward humanity's last, best hope, a secret fleet that might just save Earth from an empire that had never known defeat. The helicopter landed at a small airfield in Colorado. What looked like an ordinary mountain from the outside was actually the entrance to humanity's greatest secret. Commander Willis, Lieutenant Grant, and Dr. Rivera hurried through security, checkpoints deep into the mountain. "How many people know about this place?" Willis asked as they rode an elevator down. "Fewer than 200 worldwide," Rivera replied. "Each country built their own facility. This is just one of 5. The elevator stopped, and the doors opened to reveal an enormous cavern. Willis gasped. Inside were ships unlike anything he had ever seen. They were sleek and silver with no visible engines. Some were small, the size of fighter jets. Others were much larger. "Welcome to Project Daedalus," Rivera said with pride. Humanity's real space fleet. Men and women in simple gray uniforms worked around the ships. They weren't regular military. These people had been selected and trained in secret for years. "We have 50 ships here," Rivera explained as they walked through the hangar. "Another 200 worldwide, all built using technology from the crashed alien ship." "Why keep them hidden?" Susan asked. "We could have used this technology to solve so many problems." Rivera sighed. Fear, greed, politics. The world's leaders worried what would happen if people knew aliens were real. They feared panic. They feared how the technology might be misused, so they decided to develop it slowly, in secret, just in case we ever needed it. They stopped in front of the largest ship. It was at least 300 meters long, with a smooth hull that seemed to change color as they watched. "This is the Earthship Defender," Rivera said. "Our flagship." A tall man with gray hair approached them. "Helen, are these the Defense Command officers?" Rivera nodded. "Commander Alan Willis, Lieutenant Susan Grant, meet Captain John Ellis. He's been training to fight aliens for 20 years. Ellis shook their hands. "Never thought the day would actually come. Wish it hadn't." "How do our ships compare to theirs?" Willis asked. Ellis led them inside the Defender. The interior was surprisingly simple. No complicated control panels or flashing lights like in science fiction movies. Just clean, open spaces with a few touchscreens. "The technology we recovered uses a different approach than what we see in those hegemony ships," Ellis explained. "Their vessels are basically giant guns with engines, brute force. Our ships are smaller, but smarter." They entered the bridge. A dozen people sat at stations. around a central holographic display showing Earth and the alien fleet. Our main advantage is our shield technology, Ellis continued. Based on what we saw at Pearl Harbor, their weapons are powerful but predictable. Our shields should be able to absorb or deflect their energy blasts. Should be? Susan asked nervously. Ellis smiled grimly. We've never had a real battle to test them, just simulations. Dr. Rivera touched a control panel, and the holographic display zoomed in on one of the alien ships. We've been analyzing their design. They have weak points here and here. She pointed to sections near what looked like engine pods. What's our plan? Willis asked. Ellis brought up another display showing the positions of Earth's hidden ships. We launch everything at once, complete surprise. The ships in orbit will attack first, followed by the ground-based fleet. We target their engines and weapon systems. You have ships in orbit already? Willis was shocked. Rivera nodded. Disguised as satellites, small attack craft, waiting for the activation signal. For the next 2 hours, they refined the battle plan. Messages went out to the other secret bases around the world. Every ship was prepared for launch. Pilots and crews took their positions. President Martinez appeared on a secure video link. Dr. Rivera, Commander Willis, the Security Council, has voted. We're going to fight. Good choice, Madam President, Rivera said. We're ready. What should I tell the public? Martinez asked. People are terrified. Willis stepped forward. Tell them to watch the skies. Tell them humanity is about to show the universe who we really are. As the 6-hour mark approached, the alien commander Zar Keth appeared on screens worldwide again. People of Earth, 6 of your hours have passed. Have you reached a decision? Will you surrender peacefully? Or must we demonstrate our power again? President Martinez stood before a camera in her bunker. Her face showed only determination, not fear. Fleet Commander Zar Keth, I speak for the United Nations of Earth. We have considered your offer to join your empire. Our answer is no. On the bridge of the Defender, Ellis smiled. That's our cue. All ships prepare for launch. Zar Keth's face showed surprise, then anger. You choose destruction? Very well. We will target your city called New York next as a demonstration of... His words were cut off as the first shots were fired. The satellites in orbit suddenly changed shape, revealing their true nature as attack ships. They fired energy beams at the nearest alien vessel, striking precisely at the weak points Rivera had identified. At the same time, the mountain above the Colorado base split open. The Defender rose into the sky, followed by dozens of smaller craft. Similar scenes played out across the world as hidden bases in China, Russia, Brazil, and Australia revealed themselves. All ships, attack pattern Alpha, Ellis commanded. Target engines and weapons. Disable, don't destroy if possible. Willis watched in awe as Earth's secret fleet engaged the alien armada. The hegemony ships were caught completely by surprise. They had expected to face missiles and fighter jets, not advanced energy weapons and shields equal to their own. They're trying to regroup, Susan reported, monitoring the tactical display. 3 of their ships are already showing damage. Ellis nodded. Press the advantage. Don't give them time to recover. The Defender accelerated toward the largest alien vessel, Zar Keth's flagship. As they approached, the alien ship fired a massive energy beam. It struck the Defender's shields, which glowed bright blue but held. Shields at 82%, reported the tactical officer. We can take a few more hits like that. Ellis smiled. They hit us with their best shot and we're still here. Now it's our turn. The Defender fired its main weapon. A pulse of energy that seemed to distort the space around it struck the alien flagship. The huge ship shuddered visibly. On the command channel, cheers erupted from other Earth vessels as they reported similar successes. The Jakarta base reports 2 enemy ships disabled. Beijing squadron has breached the shields on a 3rd. London reports their target is retreating. Willis looked at Rivera. This is working. We're actually winning. Rivera nodded, her eyes shining. Humanity's finest hour. And this is just the beginning. On the main screen, they could see Zar Keth's face again. The alien commander no longer looked confident. For the first time, he looked afraid. "What are you?" he demanded. "Where did you get this technology?" Ellis answered simply. "We're humans, and you picked the wrong planet to invade." Space around Earth lit up with energy beams and explosions. The battle had been raging for nearly an hour. 3 alien ships were completely disabled, floating dead in space. 2 more were trying to retreat. The rest fought on, but they were clearly surprised by Earth's unexpected strength. On the bridge of the Defender, Captain Ellis watched the tactical display with a grim smile. "Status report," he ordered. "Our fleet has lost 12 small ships," Lieutenant Grant reported. "The Russian carrier Volga has taken heavy damage but is still fighting. All other major vessels report shields holding at 50% or better." "Commander," Willis nodded. It was a better outcome than anyone had dared hope for. "The hegemony is regrouping," he observed, pointing to the display. "They're pulling their ships into a defensive formation. They're adapting to our attack patterns," Ellis agreed. "Time to change our approach. All ships, switch to Battle Plan Delta." Earth's fleet responded immediately. Instead of direct attacks, they began to use hit-and-run tactics. Small, fast ships darted in to fire at the alien vessels, then quickly retreated before the hegemony could target them. On the command channel, Dr. Rivera's voice came through. "Captain Ellis, we've decoded some of their communications. They're calling for reinforcements." Ellis frowned. "How long do we have?" "Unknown. But we need to finish this battle before more ships arrive." In the alien fleet, Commander Zarketh faced a situation he had never encountered in hundreds of conquests. His ships were being defeated by a species that should have been primitive. It made no sense. "How did they hide this technology from our scouts?" he demanded of his science officer. "Unknown, Commander," the officer replied. "Their ships use principles similar to the ancient ones. Technology we thought was lost millennia ago." Zarketh slammed his fist on his command chair. "Send the signal to the home fleet. Tell them we face unexpected resistance, and prepare our secret weapon." Back on the Defender, Willis noticed a change in the enemy flagship. "What are they doing?" The ship's central section was opening up, revealing what looked like an enormous energy cannon. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Ellis shouted. "They're preparing to fire something big." The alien weapon charged with a visible glow. When it fired, it wasn't a beam, but a wave of energy that spread outward in all directions. As it passed through, Earth ships, their shields flickered and failed. "Emergency power to engines," Ellis ordered as the Defender's shields collapsed. "All ships, retreat and regroup." Earth's fleet scattered, suddenly vulnerable without their shields. The alien ships immediately pressed their advantage, firing on the now defenseless human vessels. "3 more of our ships destroyed," Grant reported, her voice tight with tension. "The London carrier is hit badly." Willis watched in horror as the tide of battle turned. "What was that weapon?" Dr. Rivera rushed onto the bridge, her face pale. "An anti-resonance wave. It disrupts the field harmonics our shields are based on. They must have figured out our technology." "Can we restore shields?" Ellis asked. Rivera shook her head. "Not quickly. We need to recalibrate the entire system." Ellis made a quick decision. "All ships fall back to lunar orbit. Defensive positions around Moon Base Alpha." As Earth's fleet retreated, the alien ships pursued, but not too aggressively. They had taken damage too, and Zarketh seemed content to let the humans run. The Defender and the remaining ships took position behind the moon, using it as a shield while they worked to restore their defenses. "We need a new strategy," Willis said, looking at the tactical display. 7 of the original 12 alien ships were still fighting. Earth had lost nearly a third of its fleet. "I might have something," Rivera said. She brought up schematics on a display. "The anti-resonance wave affects our shields but not our engines or weapons, and it has a weakness." "What kind of weakness?" Ellis asked. "It creates a feedback loop in their own systems. That's why they only fired at once. If we can trigger that feedback somehow, we might be able to turn their weapon against them." Willis looked thoughtful. "How do we do that?" "We need to get close. Enough to their flagship to plant a resonance device directly on their hull," Rivera explained. It would reflect the wave energy back into their systems if they try to use the weapon again. Ellis shook his head. That's a suicide mission. Without shields, any ship that approaches will be destroyed before it gets close enough. Not necessarily, said a new voice. A young pilot named Steve Mason had entered the bridge. The Scout. Ships are small enough to avoid detection if we power down most systems. I could get close enough. Ellis looked at the young man doubtfully. It's too risky. Sir, with respect, we're all taking risks today, Mason replied. This is our best chance. After a moment, Ellis nodded. Prepare your ship. Dr. Rivera will give you the resonance device. While Mason's scout ship was being prepared, the rest of Earth's fleet regrouped. Engineers worked frantically to modify the shield systems to resist the alien weapon. We'll create a diversion, Ellis told Mason. The Defender and 3 other ships will attack from the front. While they're focused on us, you slip in from behind. Mason nodded. His small scout ship, not much bigger than a car, was loaded with the resonance device Rivera had created. It looked like a simple metal disc, but it contained complex technology. Remember, you need to place it directly on their hull near their weapon system, Rivera instructed. Once it's attached, get away as fast as possible. As Mason prepared to leave, Willis approached him. Good luck, pilot. Thank you, sir. For Earth. Mason saluted and climbed into his ship. The battle resumed. The Defender led 3 ships in a frontal assault, drawing the aliens' attention. Their shields were partially restored but wouldn't hold for long. Meanwhile, Mason powered down his scout ship to minimal levels and drifted toward the alien flagship from behind. His heart pounded as he approached the massive vessel. It was like a small fish swimming up to a whale. On the Defender's bridge, they watched Mason's progress on sensors. He's almost there, Grant reported. The aliens haven't detected him yet. Suddenly, alarms blared. The enemy flagship is charging its weapon again, Grant shouted. All ships, prepare for impact, Ellis ordered. On the tiny scout ship, Mason saw the glow of the alien weapon. He was out of time. With a burst of speed, he drove his ship directly at the flagship's hull. The resonance device locked onto the alien metal. Device attached, he reported. I'm getting out of here. As Mason's ship turned to flee, the alien weapon fired. Once again, a wave of energy spread outward, disabling the shields on Earth's ships. But this time something different happened. The wave hit the resonance device and bounced back into the alien flagship. Energy coursed visibly through the huge ship. Its lights flickered and went out. Then explosions began to erupt along its hull. It's working, Rivera exclaimed. The feedback is overloading their systems. Zarketh watched in horror as his flagship began to tear itself apart. Evacuate the ship, he ordered. All vessels, retreat immediately. The remaining alien ships began to disengage, turning away from Earth. As they watched, the hegemony flagship broke in 2, secondary explosions rippling through both halves. On the Defender, cheers erupted from the crew. Mason's scout ship returned safely, and the young pilot was met with applause when he reached the bridge. You did it, Willis said, clapping him on the shoulder. You turned the tide. Ellis nodded in agreement. The hegemony is retreating. Earth is safe. For now, at least. As they watched the alien ships flee, Rivera spoke quietly. They'll be back, you know, with more ships. And we'll be ready, Ellis replied. Humanity has proven something today. The Empire's strongest fleet attacked Earth and they never stood a chance. 2 days after the battle, Earth began to rebuild. The remains of alien ships were collected for study. Damaged human vessels returned to their secret bases for repairs. In orbit, the wreckage of the hegemony flagship drifted like a grim monument to humanity's first space victory. Commander Willis stood in the White House Rose Garden alongside Captain Ellis, Dr. Rivera, Lieutenant Grant, and Pilot Mason. President Martinez had called them there to thank them personally before addressing the world. You've all done humanity proud, the president said, shaking their hands. The world owes you a debt it can never repay. We only did our duty, Ellis replied. And the fight isn't over. The hegemony will send more ships. Martinez nodded gravely. How long do we have? Rivera checked her tablet. Based on the communications we intercepted, their nearest reinforcements are 3 weeks away, a much larger fleet than the one we faced. Then we have 3 weeks to prepare, Martinez said firmly. I've spoken with the other world leaders. All resources are being diverted to our defense. The secret is out now, so we're building ships and weapons openly. Willis looked around at the garden. The roses were in full bloom, bees buzzed among the flowers, and the sun shone in a clear blue sky. It seemed impossible that such peace could exist after what they had just experienced. Dr. Rivera, I have a question, he said. Where exactly did our technology come from? You mentioned a crashed ship, but you never said who built it. Rivera glanced at the president, who nodded slightly. It's time they knew the full truth, Helen. The ship that crashed in 1952 wasn't from the hegemony, Rivera began. It was from a civilization that called themselves the Guardians. They were running from the hegemony, which had destroyed their homeworld. The alien in the crash was dying, she continued. But before he passed, he gave us something invaluable, knowledge. He explained that the hegemony had been expanding for thousands of years, conquering all in their path. The Guardians had been fighting them, trying to protect younger species like us. So our technology is Guardian technology? Susan asked. Yes. The dying Guardian told us that Earth was special, that humans had potential others lacked. He said, when the time came, we would need to awaken what was hidden here. Hidden? Willis frowned. What does that mean? Before Rivera could answer, an aide rushed up to the president. Madam President, we're detecting energy signatures in the South Pacific. Something big is happening. They hurried inside to the White House Situation Room. On the main screen, satellite images showed the ocean near Easter Island. The water was glowing with blue light. What are we looking at? Martinez demanded. Unknown, Madam President, replied the technician. The energy readings are similar to our ships, but much stronger. Rivera's eyes widened. It's happening already. The awakening. What awakening? Ellis asked. What do you know about this? The Guardian told us that Earth contained seeds. Technology buried here long ago before humans evolved. Placed by the Guardians to protect this world if the hegemony ever found it. As they watched, something enormous rose from the ocean. It wasn't a ship, at least not like anything they had seen before. It looked more like a city, floating on massive platforms. Streams of blue energy connected its towers and spires. That's Guardian technology? Willis whispered in awe. One piece of it, Rivera confirmed. According to the records we have, there are 5 such installations around the world, hidden beneath the oceans, inside mountains, even under the ice of Antarctica. Why are they activating now? Mason asked. They respond to need, Rivera explained, and to human brainwaves of a certain type, people who can interface directly with Guardian technology. She turned to look at Susan, whose eyes had taken on a faint blue glow. The lieutenant seemed unaware of it. People like you, Susan. The Guardians called them awakeners, humans with a specific neural pattern that can control their most advanced systems. Susan blinked in confusion. Me? But I'm just a radar operator. I don't have any special abilities. You do, Rivera said gently. We detected it when you first joined Earth Defense Command, but we needed to wait until the right time to tell you. There are others like you around the world. Not many, perhaps 1,000 at most, but enough. President Martinez turned to Rivera. Why didn't you tell us about this before? We could have activated these defenses before the hegemony arrived. It doesn't work that way, Rivera replied. The Guardian systems only awaken in response to a direct threat, and they need awakeners who are ready. Susan wasn't ready until she experienced the battle firsthand. On the screen, more installations were appearing around the world. In the Sahara Desert, a massive structure rose from the sand. In the Himalayas, a mountain peak split open to reveal a gleaming tower. In the Amazon rainforest, trees parted to make way for a rising platform. What exactly are these installations? Willis asked. Defense systems beyond anything we've built ourselves, Rivera said. The Guardians left them here knowing that someday the hegemony would come. They're meant to be controlled by humans, but only after we'd reached a certain level of development. Susan stepped closer to the screen, drawn to the images. I can feel them, she said quietly. In my mind. They're waiting. Waiting for what? Ellis asked. For instructions, Susan replied. Her voice had changed, becoming more confident. They're weapons platforms, but also communication centers. They can speak to Guardian outposts in other star systems. Rivera nodded. The Guardians weren't completely destroyed. Scattered, perhaps, but still fighting the hegemony. These installations can call them back. President Martinez looked thoughtful. So we're not alone in this fight. We never were, Rivera said. But first, we need to learn how to use what the Guardians left us. And we only have 3 weeks. What do we do? Willis asked. Susan turned to him, her eyes still glowing faintly blue. We train. We gather the other Awakeners. And we prepare for a battle that will decide not just Earth's fate, but perhaps the fate of the galaxy. As they spoke, more reports came in. The Guardian installations were fully active now, sending signals into deep space. Around the world, 1,000 people suddenly felt a strange calling, a pull toward the nearest installation. Military leaders from every nation were reporting the same thing. Their best pilots and commanders were showing signs of being Awakeners. Some had already left their posts, drawn by an irresistible need to reach the Guardian sites. It's happening faster than I expected, Rivera admitted. The threat must be greater than we realized. Ellis studied the tactical display, which now showed the Guardian installations as bright points of light. Can these things really help us defeat a hegemony battle fleet? They can do more than that, Susan said, her knowledge growing by the minute as she connected with the Guardian systems. They can end the hegemony's threat forever, but we need to be ready to use them properly. President Martinez straightened her shoulders. Then we will be ready. Humanity faced its first test and survived. We'll face this next challenge together. She turned to her communications director. Prepare for a worldwide address. People need to know what's happening. As they left the situation room, Willis caught up with Susan. Are you okay? This is a lot to take in. She smiled, the glow in her eyes dimming slightly as she focused on him. I'm fine. Better than fine, actually. For the first time, I feel like I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. She looked up at the sky, which was darkening into evening. The hegemony thought we were easy prey, but they're about to learn that humans are much more than they appear, and we have powerful friends they never expected. 3 weeks passed quickly. All around the world, the Awakeners gathered at the 5 Guardian installations. Susan Grant was at the Pacific site, which they now called Guardian Station Alpha. With her were 200 other Awakeners, learning to use the ancient technology with their minds. Commander Willis watched from the command platform as Susan led a training exercise. The Awakeners stood in a circle, their eyes glowing blue as they mentally controlled small Guardian drones that zipped and darted through the air. They're getting better, Captain Ellis remarked as he joined Willis. 2 days ago they could barely move those things, now they're making them dance. Willis nodded. But will it be enough? The hegemony fleet will be here tomorrow. It has to be enough, Ellis replied. Our own fleet has grown too. We've built 30 new ships using Guardian designs. Dr. Rivera approached them, looking tired but excited. The neural link system is fully operational. Susan and the other primary Awakeners can now connect with the Guardian network from anywhere on Earth. How many primary Awakeners do we have? And Willis asked. 5. 1 for each installation. Susan is the strongest, so she'll coordinate the others. A young technician hurried up to them. Commander, we've detected something entering the solar system. Multiple ships much larger than the first fleet. They rushed to the control room where a large holographic display showed the incoming hegemony vessels. There were 30 of them, each bigger than the ships in the first wave. They're not taking any chances this time, Ellis said grimly. President Martinez appeared on a communication screen. Guardian Station Alpha, this is the President. All nations are ready to support our defense. How do we proceed? Susan stepped forward, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. "Madam President, the Guardian network is fully activated. When the hegemony ships come within range, we'll be ready." "What exactly can these installations do?" Martinez asked. "They can generate an energy field around the entire planet," Susan explained. "The hegemony weapons won't be able to penetrate it, and our ships can pass through it to attack." "Will that be enough to defeat 30 ships that size?" Willis wondered. Susan smiled confidently. "That's just the beginning. The Guardians left us more than just defenses. They left us a way to call for help." On the display, the hegemony fleet moved steadily closer to Earth. They would arrive in less than 24 hours. "All defense forces, prepare for battle stations," President Martinez ordered. "This is humanity's stand. We will not fall." As night fell over the Pacific, Susan led Willis to a special chamber deep within Guardian Station Alpha. Inside was a glowing blue sphere that pulsed with energy. "What is this?" Willis asked. "The beacon," Susan replied. "When activated, it will send a signal to every surviving Guardian outpost in the galaxy. It will tell them that Earth is fighting back against the hegemony, and that we're ready to join their alliance." Willis stared at the sphere. "Why not activate it now?" "Because once we do, there's no going back. Earth will become a target for the entire hegemony, not just this fleet. We need to prove we can handle this battle first." The next morning, alerts sounded throughout the station. The hegemony fleet had entered Earth orbit, 30 massive warships, arranged in attack formation. In the command center, they watched as a familiar face appeared on the main screen. Fleet Commander Zarketh had survived the destruction of his flagship and returned with reinforcements. "People of Earth," he began, his voice cold with anger. "Your resistance was unexpected but futile. This fleet carries planet killers. Surrender now or we will crack your world open like an egg." President Martinez stood before a camera in the White House. Her reply was broadcast worldwide and to the alien fleet. "Commander Zarketh, humanity rejects your terms. We will never surrender. Your empire has terrorized the galaxy for too long. Today it ends." Zarketh's face showed rage. "You have made your choice. Prepare the planet killers." At Guardian Station Alpha, Susan took her position at the control platform. Around the world, the other 4 primary awakeners did the same at their installations. Hundreds of secondary awakeners stood ready to support them. "Activate the planetary shield," Susan ordered. As one, the awakeners focused their minds. The 5 Guardian installations glowed brightly, then shot beams of blue energy into the sky. The beams connected, forming a network that quickly spread to cover the entire planet in a shimmering blue bubble. Just in time. The hegemony ships fired their weapons, massive energy cannons designed to break planets apart. The blasts struck the shield, which flared brilliantly, but held. "Shield holding at 90%, reported a technician. Susan nodded. "Launch our fleet." Earth ships rose from their bases. 200 vessels, a mix of the original human designs and new Guardian-inspired craft. They passed through the shield and engaged the hegemony fleet. "Now it's time," Susan said to Willis. "Help me with the beacon." Together, they returned to the chamber with the glowing sphere. Susan placed her hands on it, and Willis did the same. The sphere began to pulse faster. "Focus your mind on it," Susan instructed. "Think about Earth, about humanity's will to survive and be free." Willis concentrated. The sphere grew brighter, almost too bright to look at. In space, the battle raged. Earth ships were fighting bravely, but the hegemony vessels were powerful. Several human ships had already been destroyed. "We can't hold them off much longer," Ellis reported over the comm. "The shield is down to 60%. In the beacon chamber, Susan and Willis felt the sphere begin to vibrate. "It's working," Susan exclaimed. "The signal is going out." Across the galaxy, dormant Guardian outposts received the message. Earth was fighting. Earth needed help. On the hegemony command ship, Zarketh was about to order another barrage when an officer called out in alarm. "Commander, we're detecting spatial distortions all around us. What does that mean?" Zarketh demanded. "Ships, sir!" Hundreds of ships are appearing out of nowhere. Around the hegemony fleet, Space itself seemed to fold open. Vessels of all shapes and sizes emerged, the scattered remnants of the Guardian fleet responding to Earth's call. They immediately opened fire on the hegemony ships. On Earth, Susan received a transmission from one of the new arrivals. A being that looked somewhat like the Guardians described in the old records appeared on screen. People of Earth, I am Admiral Zinn of the Free Worlds Alliance. We received your beacon signal. The Guardians told us long ago that one day Earth would awaken. We are honored to fight alongside you. The tide of battle turned quickly. Caught between Earth's fleet and the Alliance ships, the hegemony vessels were overwhelmed. Several tried to retreat, but Alliance ships cut off their escape. In less than an hour it was over. The mighty hegemony fleet was defeated. Zarketh's command ship was the last to fall, surrounded by Guardian vessels. As the fighting ended, Admiral Zinn's ship docked with Guardian Station Alpha. The alien admiral met with Earth's leaders on the command deck. Today marks the beginning of the end for the hegemony, Zinn announced. For thousands of years they have terrorized the galaxy, but now, with Earth awakened and joining our alliance, we can finally defeat them completely. President Martinez stepped forward. Earth stands ready to do its part. We've proven today that even the Empire's strongest fleet is no match for humanity. Admiral Zinn smiled in his alien way. Indeed, the hegemony made a fatal mistake when they attacked Earth. They never stood a chance. As celebrations began around the world, Willis found Susan standing alone, looking up at the stars. What happens now? He asked. Susan smiled, her eyes still, faintly glowing blue. Now we rebuild. We learn. And then we take the fight to the hegemony. Earth has found its place in the galaxy, Commander Willis. And it turns out, we're far more important than anyone expected. Above them, Alliance ships moved into protective positions around Earth. The planet was safe for now, but everyone knew this was just the beginning of a much larger story, humanity's entrance onto the galactic stage. The Empire had attacked Earth, underestimating humanity at every turn. Their strongest fleet had been defeated. And now, the entire hegemony would learn what the First Fleet discovered. When you threaten Earth, you never stand a chance.